Hi, in this video I will show you my latest work on UI combinators. In this case I'm using UI combinators to make a UI combinator builder that allows me to create UIs using them and preview them at the same time. So what I'm going to build right now is something close or a subset of the request configuration UI I showed in the last demo. So on the left I have at the beginning to select which is the root component of the UI I'm building. In this case it will be a record, and I'm going to call it request, and it's going to have a field name called method with a display name called method, and it will be constants. It will have two constants, one called get of type text, the value will be get, and the display name will be get. I only going to do two to not bore anybody. So now I have my method and I can play with the UI because the component being previewed here is a component the same as any other. It has the same representation at runtime. It's nothing special. It's a first class component. So I already have the method, so I'm going to add another field. Let's call it URL, and it's going to have a label. It's going to be a record. The name of the record will be URL. It will have a field called protocol, and the label will be protocol, and the type will be constants. It will have two values, and let's call it protocol, and it will be HTTP. The value will be HTTP. The label, I could add some emojis like in the previous demo, but to make it faster I'm going to write it like that. So now I have my URL with my protocol. I'm going to add another field to the URL, which is going to be hostname. This one is simpler. It will be of type text, and let's add another field. Let's call it port. It's going to be of type integer. And now let's add the path, which is going to be a list of alternatives of type let's do text and integer. I think it was the last, and query parameters, which is a list of records of key of the key is text, and the value is in the demo is an alt of text and integer, and it could be many more things, but for simplicity here I can do only text. The only remaining one is headers, which is pretty similar to query parameters, so I'm not going to do it. But here, like as I said, you can play with this. It's a UI component like any other, and I can add some paths and some query parameters. And yeah, it's done. If I serialize it and load it later, I can use this component instead of coding it. I created it in itself. And if you may have noticed this slider at the bottom, I've also been playing with undo history. So whenever there's a change in the state, it will record a history entry. It will keep, in this case, a maximum of 100, and I can slide through the history of the whole application. And if I go to a particular place and I do a change, that change will be added at the end of the history, but I can go back to the previous state, which was the last state before the undo and the change. In this case, some of the configuration in the UI is lost because whenever I do an undo, I recompile the component and re-register it, so the state is lost, but I could keep it around too with some extra code. So this was meta UI combinators, so building UI combinators in themselves, and a demo of undo history.